All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army episode 2.254. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines featuring Cameroonian age fraud and Leicester City's surprise prize. Weekly What If is actually going to be a pop quiz. We're going to throw at the fellas. Premier League, we will do a postmortem of the Liverpool Manchester City game from this past weekend and run through the other games. We'll do a quick power rankings and then FA Cup and other stuff preview for the weekend to come. Around the world, we got MLS Minute, of course, Gold Cup takeaways. That's the Women's Gold Cup. And then Champions League preview. Stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, starting with one of the hardest working commentators in MLS broadcasting today, Mr. Tyler Terrans, fresh off not a trip. Usually I ask you sort of where you went for your weekend working. Not this week. You were working and playing in Cincinnati. So we'll skip that. We're going to go to something a little more personal for your question here. What is the longest you've gone without shaving?
I thought that was going in a very different direction. What region of my body are we talking about?
I was thinking your face. You can answer it however you want to answer it, though.
South of the border, there was a stretch during college where I just didn't do it for months on end. And it was when I was a freshman on the team, and there was a senior who was on the team who's actually now the head coach of a Division III school that will remain unnamed. And we just basically had a competition for the biggest bush on the team for a solid year. So I went a year without shaving down there.
Who won?
He won. Okay. He just had more fertile hair glands down there than me, and up top. He's got a great head of hair too. And then my face, during COVID, I went 2.5 months when I wasn't on camera and just, being a bum. Yeah.
Did you have kind of the little beard thing going on?
Yeah, but my facial hair once it gets to a certain point, it just comes in like pubes. So I don't know. It's not a good look.
So pubes everywhere, pubes up
everywhere.
And bottom.
Pubes everywhere.
Oh, all right. Mr. Mitchell Goulet is next, aka Overtime Mitch. I'm not going to ask you about your pubes or your facial pubes. Looks like you can grow a pretty strong beard, though. So maybe we'll get to that at some point. I actually want to ask you about Emil Forsberg, who I saw you chatted up at some point in the not too distant past. I'm pretty excited about him being in MLS. I think he started off pretty hot, and talking to people that saw him playing in preseason, they're all like, man, this guy's legit. What's he like actually, as a, one-on-one?
Yeah, that sentiment is echoed throughout the club. Everybody was super excited to have him in, and all the other players that I talked to, I asked, hey, how good is he? And they were like, oh, he's levels. It's an entirely different game to him. He's playing a different sport than everybody. Not to gas him up too. He's an excellent player. He as a person is awesome though. Super down for media stuff. And I realize when I come into a club and I'm doing fun gimmicky content with the guys, it's super hit or miss sometimes. The guys are either here for it or they're not. He was so bought in. He was so cool, gave great answers, elaborated on everything. And so far has started off this season pretty well with Red Bulls. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in MLS.
All right, good. Glowing review on and off the field for Emil Forsberg there. All right, good start. Now we'll head to headlines. So kind of a thin week from a headlines standpoint, at least as far as I saw. So we're going to start off with a strange but very, I don't know, wild story out of Africa. So the Cameroonian FA came out with news today, this being Monday, that they suspended 62 players for what they're basically calling age fraud. Essentially, they lied about their age. 62 players were suspended. And of course, the guy that caught sort of the most attention was this quote unquote 17-year-old. What was his name? Wilfried Nathan Douala, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That's off memory. I can check real quick here. Yes, so Wilfried Nathan Douala, who was listed as a 17-year-old at AFCON in the, just a couple months ago. And I mean, just from what I saw of him, in his like walkouts, they were he'd have a boombox and he was dancing his ass off. I mean, number one, looks like an awesome dude, brilliant from a vibes perspective, hairline of a 40-year-old. So the fact that he came out, he's not 17, maybe not a big surprise there. This isn't the first time we've heard of it. When I think of age fraud, I don't know if we called it that at the time. I always think of like baseball players and like, Cubans and guys that are like coming up trying to get in the show a little too early. It sounds like we're going the other way here. Some of the guys are basically saying, I'm assuming they're saying they're younger to boost their value from like a sales perspective. I assume that's what the situation is here. I don't know. Very strange, but very odd, but interesting. I don't know, Mitch, anything to add there?
No, people ask me how old I am all the time, and my first answer is always, "How old do you think I am?" And then I kind of go from there.
You usually get lower or higher?
Mixed bag, depends on whether I shave or not.
Makes sense. Makes sense. You got any grays coming in yet?
No, God, no, not that old.
He's only like 25, 26.
I always forget. You guys are.
I'm not gonna say my real age because no, I'm 27.
You seem very mature for your age. That's why I said that.
Oh,
all right, we'll move on to headline number 2, where Leicester City. So they are, they got bounced down to the championship last season. They are on track to bounce right back this season. They're doing quite well in the championship, but if they do make it back, they might have a little surprise waiting for them when they get back, because it sounds like the FA or whoever, maybe it's the Premier League, I don't know exactly who would levy this punishment, but their accounts, their finances sound like they might be outside of the the bounds of whatever the rules are these days. I don't even know. Like, I know that the Premier League met this week and they're talking about certain things like the financial rules and like the payments that are being made to lower levels and all this stuff. And it sounds like the Premier League wants to go in a direction to kind of harmonize with UEFA and the way they do the financial rules. Anyway, they're different right now. Hence why Manchester City is where we still don't know if they're going to get punished for their 115 charges, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, Leicester City, if they do come back next season, they might be handed a nice little door prize walking in the door and start the season with negative points. How many points? I do not know. Everton was just handed a 10-point deduction. There's still talk about Everton and Nottingham Forest being handed another deduction this season. So yeah, we'll see. But that's not something to look forward to for Leicester City, unfortunately. But that's all we got there. Like I said, kind of a thin headlines week. Sometimes we got all sorts of stuff. Not a lot this week. So we will go on to normally be pop quiz or weekly what if, but this week I want to go pop quiz. And this one is really coming out of left field at you guys. I don't give them any clues, any hints, any little help on this. So we're really getting their whatever comes to brain for you guys. So what was the last team to win the League Cup, excuse me, not Leagues Cup in CONCACAF, in England, the League Cup? Who was the last non-Big Six team to win that?
Can you give us the year?
I can give you the year if you want a hint. It was 2013.
Sunderland.
Well, that's a good guess.
That is a good guess. They were in the final in 2014.
Oh,
So that was a very good guess. This team, I'll give you another hint. This team is not in the Premier League.
I want to say something like
Southampton.
Stoke City.
What'd you guys say?
Southampton.
Not Southampton. That's a good guess as well.
I
What'd
said
you say?
Stoke City, but
Nope, not Stoke City. You guys got the right letter. That's what I was like.
West
It sounded
Brom.
like one of you guys might have said it.
Fuck.
They're actually Welsh.
Oh, Swansea.
Swansea it was.
Ah.
Swansea beat Bradford City in the 2013.
City?
Bradford City. Yes, that was at the height of Swansea City's powers. Well, not at the height. I think it may have trended up a little.
So right after Bob Bradley was in charge?
That's right around. I think he was like 2016.
I know that he was more recent than that. Also, it just goes to show like how much more serious clubs are taking that tournament. I know we call it a Mickey Mouse Cup all the time, but if Swansea and Bradford City were in the final, like the equivalent now would be fucking Bournemouth and Luton, and we are way removed from that. So
very much so. I mean, I'm
just trying to gas up the trophy that Liverpool have already won this year.
Well done.
Hardware, hardware.
It is. I mean, listen, Tottenham hasn't. I think we did win that.
All
that
right,
was our last trophy, 2008 and 1999. No, not that anybody's counting. All right. Well done. Well done. We'll move on to Premier League. So the big, this is when I typically say, what game did you guys find most interesting? I think we're all starting at the same point here. So Liverpool City, biggest game, potentially of the season coming in. And I mean, from a straight neutral's point of view, I enjoyed it immensely. It was a hell of a game. From a score line, only 1-1. Certainly could have been a lot more goals than that. Tyler, what'd you think coming away from the game? This is at home, finished 1-1. You're still in fine place in the table. But just what did you think coming away from that game?
I feel like you're burying the lead and doing this on purpose, and you're just like,
I'm letting you handle it. I'm letting you take the.
You're letting me handle it. You're such a good talent manager. You are. There was a point where after the first 10 or 12 minutes in the first half, I thought we were going to lose 9-0. And then we settled in. And I think that at the end of the day, a draw was a fair result, given some woodwork sightings, some chances that City should have finished. Haaland 1v1 with Van Dijk. I don't care who the defender is in that position, that far away from goal, with Haaland running at you. It usually ends up in a goal. And then Luis Diaz chances missed. I think that the result is fair. It could have been 3-3, and I think everybody would have been okay with that. But the penalty for me, I'm just like, I was reading, because I'm a masochist, up on all the PGMOL responses and all the pundits and what they were saying, and it was just like, and Mike Dean, I think, was on Sky Sports commentary and was talking about how Doku came away lucky. And I just want to throw this out there for Liverpool fans and for all of you other fucking haters out there. Okay, if you turn the clock back to the Spurs game with the Diaz fuck show that was whatever that call was from VAR, from a communication standpoint. Okay, forget that for a second. But the red card on Curtis Jones, was it on Jones?
I think that sounds right.
Okay. So the explanation from PGMOL was that Doku was playing the ball. Okay, we're obviously talking about the last challenge on McAllister in the final seconds of the game. Is that his intent was to play the ball. Still caught McAllister, but he played the ball. How the fuck is that different from what Curtis Jones did? And I'm not saying it wasn't reckless, but how is that any different? And how is that you're going to be your explanation for this one? You said it in the group chat. Any other time of the game, any other place of the field, it's a fucking penalty. His studs are showing. I don't care if he gets the ball. He still catches him. His boot is up past his nipples. What the fuck are we talking about?
Can I offer a legit answer to that question?
Go ahead.
With them saying that he's playing the ball, they are then implying that the foul given would have been dangerous play or playing dangerously. And that, even though it's in the box, wouldn't have resulted in a penalty. It would have resulted in an indirect free kick. If you're cited for dangerous play, it would not have been a foul. Since his boot was that high, it would have been a dangerous play.
But it still could be a foul, even if he
could. It could. I'm saying since they have established that he was playing the ball, which I think that's where their head's at. I'm not actually agreeing with it, but I think that's where their head was at.
If that was the case, then they would have come out and said, I don't even know if that's reviewable. If dangerous play inside the penalty area, if it's going to result in a So they were VAR. They were looking at it for a foul. So they're saying that it's not a foul. It's a fucking foul. It's a foul.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And this is a compound effect. And I'm sorry, Mitch, that you haven't gotten a word in yet. This is a
Sure.
compound effect of all of this re-refereeing bullshit. This has been the worst referee Premier League season to date since VAR has been implemented. This is an aggregate effect. These guys don't know how to ref the fucking game anymore. And how many times do you think a human being wants to be told that they're making a clear and obvious error throughout the course of a game? And that's what we're doing. Is basically these guys have to admit time and time and time again that they're making a clear and obvious error. I'm so fucking sick of this shit. And I'm trying to remove the fact that Liverpool's been now screwed not once but twice and bent over the barrel for this year. I'm trying to remove it. But this is not the only case. We're not the only team who suffered from this. And it's just this, it is open season on referees in every sport because we've implemented video review across the board. NBA refereeing is at its worst. Premier League refereeing is at its worst. I don't even know where the fuck the refs are in Major League Soccer, and that's a totally different story. So like, it's a shit show. Whole thing's a shit show.
Let me add one thing there. I don't think that the reffing is, it might be a little different now because they have this big brother that they know is sort of watching over them at all times, which probably changes the way you approach things. But I've said this all along. I think the reffing is just as good as it's ever been. It's just now our expectations have gone up because VAR is there. So, you know,
Mitch, back me up here.
I don't think the expectations have raised or lowered. I think, you know, even before VAR, people were still going to come, you know, argue whether there was a penalty or whether it wasn't a penalty. I think now that we've armed everybody and their mother with instant replays and super slow-mo evidence, that everybody has the ability to go look and see what they want to see. I'm not saying that wasn't a foul, it was a foul. But overall, like, we've been armed, we the fans have been armed with more evidence than the referees do in real time. And I think that's where the imbalance comes in. And you bring up a good point that nobody wants to be told that they're making a clear and obvious error 5 times throughout the course of a 90-minute game when that is their full-time job. So like there might be a bit of an ego at play. There's a bit of a like, well, I don't want to get this wrong because then it's a whole thing. It's just not, it hasn't had good consequences. It's the implementation of VAR was a good idea, but the cons are way outweigh the pros in my opinion.
And Sam, to your point, like, I think that when we didn't have video review and we didn't have VAR, there was so much more leeway for and there was so much more empathy and understanding for referees because there would be some bang plays where you would come away from it as a fan. What's up, Mitch's roommate? You'd come away from it as a fan and you would be like, okay, I'm pissed that we got screwed, but I can understand why the referee in real time made that call. Now, if you're going to get a call wrong, whether it be for VAR miscommunication or for whatever the fuck this explanation was, there's no excuse for it. There's zero.
For this
and
one, you're right.
The refereeing in the run of play in between the penalty areas has gotten worse. Everything is worse. Everything.
There's a lot of things going on here because I just think that they got the one on Doku and McAllister just straight wrong. Like, it's just wrong. He kicked him in the chest. That's a foul everywhere else on the field, and it should have been a foul there.
How do you not send him to the screen and let him make that decision for himself? It's his fucking game.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that you got to assume that he had a very good look at it. And it's not like he didn't. It's not like he missed anything, right? He saw it in real time, and yeah, if you go look at the screen and you see it in slow mo, I agree. Like, chances are you're gonna it increases the odds that he's gonna go back and say, well, I have to call it now.
92% of the time, around roughly 92% of the time, referees go to the monitor. The call gets overturned.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a self-selected, group of plays there. But yes, and I don't know. I just think that this was a bad call. And then I think the part of the issue is that the refs don't want to decide a game. If they had given a penalty right there, That is deciding the game. That is handing the
what the
win to
fuck-
Liverpool.
what
You're
the fuck-
refereeing the
what
biggest league in
fuck
the
does
world.
that-
You need to be able to make calls that decide a game. You need to be able to give red cards when red cards are deserved. You need to be able to call penalties when penalties are warranted. I don't think there's a scared of the light kind of thing. Like I think referees at this level are okay with making calls that decide a game.
I think this was an ego thing above all else.
We all
they
agree
didn't
it was a
want-
mistake,
that,
though.
that let's take your statement and let's amend it. They didn't want to decide the game with what was deemed an error on their part. How about that?
That's an
was not-
interesting way to twist it, I guess.
Both of you answer this question. Was that a football looking play? Was that a soccer looking play that Doku had?
I mean, he
weird
was
play.
trying to kick the ball, but he kicked McAllister. He kicked
You
McAllister
can't-
in the chest.
Foot can't be up by your fucking Adam's apple. This is
Right.
not a thing.
Right. And intent doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter anyway. It was a foul. They fucked that up.
Anyway, 1-1 result was fair. So
Yeah, 1-1. The draw did seem like a fair result. And and then there was that one who was Doku, actually. Didn't he hit the post in
Yeah.
like the 90th? Yeah. So now we go into the stretch run here with you guys on 63 or 64 points, even with Arsenal and Manchester City on 63 points. Wow, we have a legitimate 3-team title race. This
it'd be hard.
aside from all the other stuff, and the anger coming out of that game, like this is going to be a pretty awesome couple month run in, assuming Arsenal doesn't win. If they do win, it's going to be fucking terrible.
Having 3 different games every weekend to watch that are do or die is the coolest fucking thing ever.
And then there's that whole stretch where Tottenham play. I can't remember the order. We play City, Arsenal, and Liverpool in 3 weeks, back to back.
Always about him.
We do. We get to decide the title race.
How cool it is. We just happen to get all 3 of these teams in the schedule.
Listen, Tottenham decides the title race as it should be.
You're giddy about it now, but let's check in after those 3 weeks.
yeah.
Number one, you're right. I am giddy about it because it's fun to be involved in something, which is new. But yeah, if it goes badly, and like say we do something stupid and beat like Liverpool and City and lose to Arsenal,
I guarantee you that the PGMOL will not allow you to beat Liverpool if they have anything to say about it, given what happened earlier in the season. This is not going to happen.
Well, we shall see. I mean, hopefully we will have, top 4 wrapped up by then, even though we're not even in 4th place at the moment. But speaking of that, some of the other games from the weekend here, of the other games, I thought, one of the more interesting ones was Tottenham and Villa. We went to quote unquote Fortress Villa and dog walked them in their backyard, which you experienced it, Tyler. It does seem like so they had gone like 22 games in a row with maybe like 1 loss, and now they've lost like 4 out of 5 or something. Like Fortress Villa is no more.
Me and my boys cursed that ground.
You might have been involved with that. I do think McGinn also helped with that just boneheaded challenge that he got a red card, rightly.
Yeah, but he's been the best player on the field for them basically every game this year. So
he is a very good player. I like watching him play. Just a junkyard dog, but skillful as well.
Tell me how you really feel. Jesus.
I mean, that's how he plays. Plays like a little junkyard dog. So he's very skillful too. He's a classy junkyard dog. I used to say that about Weston McKennie too. So listen, I mean, it's 4-0. Obviously, the scoreline flattered Tottenham, no doubt about that. We did feel like we were the better team, did finally get on the board, and then put out 3 goals in the last 5 minutes to make the scoreline look a little prettier than it should have been. Other games, Arsenal, Brentford. That was an interesting one. That Ramsdale mistake at the end of the first half. Wow.
I couldn't actually bring myself to watch replays of it. Like I was looking away from the TV. That was tough. That was real tough to watch.
That was really bad. He did kind of make up for it though. Toney had that shot from like half field.
The audacity of Ivan Toney to even try that. I think that was on frame too. It was
away. It was going.
Yeah. So Ramsdale's done well to save that one, and then there was another reaction save that he tipped over the bar a little later that he definitely made up for it. I think everybody got in his ear at halftime and said, "Hey, that half's over. That's all done. Let's go out there and win this one. So good on him, but fuck me, was that tough to watch.
Yeah, it's tough to bounce back from that, especially in a keeper in his position where he hasn't been
Yeah.
getting, any time, and then he comes out and makes that mistake. I will give. I'm not a big GKU credit giver, but listen, he does deserve some credit for bouncing back. Other games, Manchester United with a not impressive, an unimpressive 2-0 win over Everton at home. 2 penalties, I believe, was the difference. Then we had the 3 bottom dwellers, Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United, all earning road draws this weekend, which is kind of an interesting just caveat. But the one thing I did want to point out, Brighton and Nottingham Forest, the game itself was it wasn't a great game. Brighton came away 1-0. Gio Reyna didn't even make the team sheet. I think it's time to maybe hit that panic button at this point. Like this something's not right if he's not even getting on a team sheet. There's nothing we can do other than just sort of go like this and hit the panic button and hope things something changed. But man, something is not right. And I think we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but hopefully something changes. He's still a young kid. Obviously, when we sort of were optimistic about this move, it was for him to be in a high pressure situation, getting minutes, and sort of getting back in his groove. Obviously, that is not happening so far. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, really. It's just not a good situation at the moment. Now, quickly, we'll go power rankings. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to call out a sacrificial lamb. Mitch, I think you're going to be the sheep in this case. Just give us your top 4 in order, and Tyler and I will critique you on it. And this
Arsenal,
is if they played at a neutral field right now,
which has literally never happened.
No.
Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur.
It's like, can I fight you on Arsenal right now? I don't know if I can.
Right.
I don't know if I can. I just don't know if I mean, like the Tottenham fan in me wants to, and like wants to immediately sort of instinctively come at you about it. But like just watching Arsenal in your games recently and sort of the way you've been winning them. And now granted, they haven't always been against the best competition, but still you've been going out and stomping people. And City's coming out against teams that are, sort of at that same level, and they're like eking by. I don't think I can disagree right now.
I think that City shout, not to Mikey reverse jinx them, but I think that City shout, like their Bournemouth game, was unimpressive. But they tend to, for the majority of their games, play to the level of their opponents. And I don't think that's the same as, City of 1 or 2 years ago. I think this year they've started doing that for some reason. And it's not a great habit to get into, but like they look great against Liverpool. Like that was such a fun game as a neutral. I had obviously some opinions on it, but like as a neutral, that was one of the most fun games this season. Both teams going at each other. But City didn't really play the way they wanted to play for the majority of the game, like they do against teams. Liverpool took it to them. I think we, throughout this season, have taken the game to everybody we've played. We've implemented our will on the game. We've played the style that we want to play. We've had the lion's share of possession every single week. Like, I think that's what separates us from City this season, and that's why I have us.
If I'm going to take issue with your top 4, I might want to put Liverpool ahead of City.
Okay, that's fine. I think Liverpool had the better chances yesterday, 2 days ago.
And this is we're sort of taking into account the fact that Liverpool is missing a whole bunch of players, but if we're going to play right now, gosh, yeah, that's a tough one. I do think Arsenal has to be number 1 right now, though, just the way they've been playing and the way they've been dominating and winning. And yeah, I'll go along with Tottenham before, instead of trying to reverse jinx myself. We look good. We're a good team when we have our players healthy. This is a good team, a very good, solid top 4 contender. Bottom 3. I mean, is this even worth talking about? I mean, come on. Granted, they did just get draws, but I mean,
I was really rooting for them being Sheffield to pull out a win this weekend, but last minute equalizer, you could see that coming a mile away.
Oh yeah, they went up 2-0, and I was like, I should absolutely live bet this. I didn't do it, but should have. So yeah, I'm gonna go Sheffield United, Burnley, and Luton Town. I mean, you could maybe throw Forest in there.
You could throw Forest in there instead of Luton.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna stick for sake of simplicity. I'm just gonna go stick with Sheffield United, Burnley, and Luton Town. Let's go to weekend preview. So it's one of those interesting weekends where half the games are actually postponed due to FA Cup, which is going on. The FA Cup, what are we at? Quarterfinals this weekend. And there are some very interesting FA Cup games. So we'll go through those quickly first. We have the 4 games. Wolves hosting Coventry is not the most interesting of them all. Manchester City hosting Newcastle, also on Saturday, should be a good one. Chelsea hosting Leicester City. And this is the Leicester City that has been playing very well in the championship. And Chelsea has been, as we've talked about many times, very hit and miss. They did have a game, which we didn't really talk about. They played quite well against Newcastle on Monday. So they're coming in as hot as they have been, recently. And then Manchester United hosting Liverpool on Sunday. So actually some really good matchups in the FA Cup quarterfinals. Mitch, which of those 4 are you most interested in? Since I think we know where Tyler, what his answer would be.
Ask Tyler first to talk about his.
Okay, Tyler, since you are excited to be watching this game in its entirety, for the record, he actually has to travel for some of this because the travel scheduler.
I can't book my travel 6 weeks ago anticipating that we're going to be in the final of a League Cup and in the quarterfinals of FA Cup. I can't just do that.
It's a lack of confidence
and
in yourself.
But also it's stay in Minneapolis for an extra 5 hours. Like I just don't need that in my life. I don't.
That's fair. I'll just give you a ribbing. Are you, what do you think about this game going to Manchester United?
Clown show.
Clown show, even with all your injuries, even with everything else going on.
Clown show. That's not a fucking club. That's a disaster. That's a dumpster fire. That's a bunch of frauds trying to figure out exactly who they are. That's a rat with a captain's armband on one of his skinny ass fucking rat arms. They're a joke. And even if we lose to them, I don't give a shit. Like, and you can come at me next week when we talk about this. But like, that club it means nothing to me. I'm not concerned in the slightest.
Bruno really, really did something to your psychologically.
Okay. I speak for all of Sam fam when I say that we've all had enough of Bruno Fernandes. If I was a Manchester United fan, I'd be fucking embarrassed. Okay, I'd be embarrassed. This club is the fact that he wears the captain's armband for what is supposed to be the most recognizable badge on the face of the planet in our sport. It's a fucking disgrace. He is a disgrace. And the fact that Ten Hag came to his defense, that sitting duck that he is, like, what? Why?
I mean, I can understand why he did the way he did, and about that TikTok, that was a clown move. I'm with you on
Ten Hag's part.
Yes.
Toney.
I mean, I understand why you want to come to your players, defense, even when he's in the wrong.
Probably going to crush him. Is Andy Robertson is probably going to have a go at him at some point during the game and is going to yell at him.
Why?
Because that's just who Andy Robertson. He's a fucking hard Scot who grew up in the hills of Glasgow and just I don't know. I'm sure Glasgow doesn't have hills, but I'm just.
It's like this is the Highlands you're thinking of right now.
He did that with Ronaldo. Was it Ronaldo? No, it was Messi. I mean, he went tete-a-tete with Messi during the Champions League tie back in 2019 or whatever it was. He just likes to go after. He likes big game hunting. Not that little rat man is big game, but anyway.
And we really do need a United fan on here just to push back on some of this United hate.
Do we have any United Sam fan members? Like, I feel like nobody we bring on the show.
No, because this is a podcast for intellectuals.
You guys are gonna give me so much shit in the DMs. Dax McCarty is a United fan. He's been.
There might be fewer United fans than there are City fans at this point.
Oh man, we do. Now you're forcing my hand. Now I have to get a United fan just to push.
Go find one. Let's talk.
Yeah. We'll talk to you in 3.5 weeks when you dig one up in the backyard.
All right, I'm gonna work on this. let's see. Other than that, oh yeah, which game of the FA Cup quarterfinals you looking at most, Mitch?
I like Chelsea Leicester. I think with Chelsea in the I don't know kind of form they're in right now, I would love to see them knock down a peg. I would love Leicester to go through in this tie. Um,
Which is very doable, by the way.
oh yeah, yeah. This I mean, don't you don't focus on league position in these ties. These are individual matchups that should be treated as such. And I would love Leicester to just take the game to them, play real championship style football, and
Are Leicester favorites in this game?
No, they
no, they
can't
can't be.
be. Not with Chelsea at home. That's a
Chelsea were
good
favorites today against
at home against
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah,
Listen, bookies know what they're talking about.
and
Good for them.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
By the way,
Outside of
I need to win a college basketball bet before this tournament starts, or else I'm going to be in bad news. And the tournament last year, I know we're getting totally off topic here, but I just looked at my DraftKings account and I'm just like, I cannot buy a win if it was on sale at Target
I was
right
like,
now.
where did that come from? You must be on.
I wanted to go look at the Chelsea thing, and I was like, oh my god, I'm out on that. Fucking hit on a bet in ages. Actually, that's not true. I took Dayton live when they were down against VCU by 7. But like last year during March Madness, I lost a lot of money to the point where I didn't bet for like 4 months until football season started.
That's quite a streak. The fact you can go that long though kind of makes it you're not an
No,
addict.
I don't have an issue. I don't have a
Okay.
problem. I'm just
It's fun.
bad.
You're bad at it.
It's not it's college bad.
Other than FA Cup games this weekend, let's see what we're looking at. As I said, half the games are actually postponed. So, of the games that are still going on, Tottenham visiting Fulham on Saturday, um, Burnley hosting Brentford, Luton hosting Nottingham Forest, West Ham hosting Aston Villa. I guess that actually, I don't know if it's the Fulham Tottenham game or the West Ham Aston Villa game. Probably West Ham Aston Villa. I don't know. I don't know what game would be most interesting to people, to the neutrals. Both those games actually are kind of interesting. But that's all we got. Let's move on. Let's go to round the world, where if the Minuteman is fully capable of performing at a moment's notice, I know you are. We'll hand it off to you. The MLS hit it and quit it minute.
Yes, sir. Let's get it popping. Match day number 4, but match day number 3 according to Google, and week number 3 according to the actual calendar. But because Inter Miami and RSL played one game on a Wednesday before the season actually started, Messi gets his own match day, so that means it's match day number 4, even though we're in week number 3. Anyway, I digress. Let's head to the Big Apple for our first game. Fresh off the news that NYCFC are going to have their own brand spanking new stadium. They fucking lay an egg in the last 10 minutes of this game. They were up 1-0 against the Portland Timbers and Phil Neville, who go on the road. Evander with a ridiculous strike to beat Matt Freese. Late on in stoppage time, 2-1 is the final score for Phil Neville and bunch. How about Toronto FC? 3 games, 3 clean sheets, 7 points. They take down Charlotte FC. Insigne with a banger of his own. 1-0 is the final score up in Toronto. Philadelphia and Seattle suspended due to insane weather at Subaru Park along the banks of the Delaware River. I mean, it was just puddles of rain. Now let's head down to the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, and the Lions of Orlando City were looking good against Minnesota United. For most of the game, we're probably the better team, but Minnesota just kept scratching, kept clawing. Temu Pukki with a great finish. And then it was Bongi Hlongwane with his first appearance of the season, coming off of injury with the stoppage time game winner off the assist from Tani Olawashe, who provided the game-winning goal last week for the Loons, and Minnesota coming away with a 3-2 win before the arrival of Eric Ramsey, Manchester United assistant coach, who's going to take the helm. Atlanta United put New England and Caleb Porter to the sword. 4-1 is the final score for the Five Stripes. That game was in Atlanta. Let's head over to Columbus, 90 minutes away from my home in Cincinnati, and the Crew do what they do against the Chicago Fire, and that's win by a score of 2-1. More mistakes from the Fire on set pieces. Looks like the same old Fire, feels like the same old Fire, but it's just a new year, and you just hate to see it. Red Bulls, 2-1 winners over FC Dallas. Dallas still struggling, still missing some pieces, and Emil Forsberg and company get the job done at home in Harrison, New Jersey. Austin FC and St. Louis, 2 sides who are relatively new to the league, finish with 4 goals split right down the middle. 2-2 is the final score. Good game between Austin and St. Louis. Their RSL at home against who's coaching this team now? Good Lord Almighty. What's his name? Chris Armas. Yeah, geez, the Minuteman is stumbling right now. I need to help me out here. RSL at home against Colorado and Chris Armas, and they get their first win in the Chris Armas era. 2-1 is the final score. San Jose at home against Vancouver. The Earthquakes are struggling, and then some. They need to change something up. I'm not sure what it is, but something's got to be fixed. 2-0 winners, Vancouver Whitecaps and Vanni Sartini. I love that guy. LAFC and Sporting Kansas City played to a 0-0 draw. Bizarre again from LAFC, who created a lot of chances but cannot finish it off. Nashville and Galaxy played to a great game. Galaxy missed a penalty early in the first half. Nashville got out to a lead, and then Galaxy come back. Final score is 2-2. Cincinnati DC United, that was the game that I was on. Absolute snooze fest. But Sam Fam member Alex Bono, with a huge display, was able to get the clean sheet. One ridiculous save on Aaron Bupenza, who's just been, sort of like the MLS's Darwin Nunez as of late. He missed like 5 chances against Monterrey on Thursday, missed a couple of big ones on Sunday afternoon. No goals in that affair. And then Inter Miami, resting Busquets, resting Messi, and I believe resting Suarez, as far as the starting 11 was concerned, fall to CF Montreal, who all of a sudden have like 6 or 7 points in their first 3 games, which I don't think anybody could have expected. And that would do it for week number 3, match day number 4, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Now, that was well done. As always, yes, Montreal, 7 points from the first 3. The tables are kind of interesting. We got Toronto up there, we got DC up there. That's on the eastern side. On Western Conference, we got Portland, we got Minnesota, Colorado now up in 7th. Interesting. Obviously, it's 3/4
early
games.
days, my brother.
Not even worth talking about, but it is interesting. I'm glad you gave Bono the shout out. He deserved it.
He DM'd me later that night, and he was like, "Dude, they never tell me who's on the call for the game. I had no idea until I heard the highlights later." I was like, I think I called him Western New York's finest at one point in time. So I'm sure I offended plenty of people who are from Rochester and Syracuse, but here we are.
That's a very niche offensiveness right there. All right. Well done, as always, Mr. Minuteman. Quickly, the rest of the round the world, women's national team. So we played Brazil in the final. We beat Brazil in the final. This is the Women's Gold Cup, the first time this has ever been played. Number one, a couple takeaways. Number one, I'm very glad that they got this tournament up and running. It seems like it's something that, to have a tournament that's not just North America, meaning it's just been in previous years, it's just been the US and Canada. Mexico clearly, as they demonstrated earlier in this Gold Cup, they're on the up and up. So at least there's more competition coming from North America proper, but now you throw in the mix teams like Colombia and teams like Brazil. I'm sure others, Argentina and other countries are going to be sort of, on their heels as well. I'm very glad they got this tournament going. It feels like a legit trophy that they're playing for. And it's a good tournament to have. Number two, the women got a lot of grief earlier in the tournament when they lost to Mexico, and I think that was rightly so. They came out and laid talk about laying eggs. They looked absolutely terrible against Mexico, but in the aftermath of that, they really seemed to get it together a little bit. They looked very good against Colombia, against Canada in the semifinal. Not the greatest performance, but Canada's a legit opponent, and we came through on penalties. We were winning basically the whole game. Canada twice came back, so shout out to them for fighting through things. And then the final, Brazil that was a legit Brazil team. Like, that was a very good team that we played against. They don't have sort of that superstar. They don't have the Marta. They don't have somebody that's going to like take the ball and go score. So it seemed like they were a little bit offensively challenged, but like that they had a lot of good players. That was a very good team, and the U.S. team, I thought, was just sort of the better team out there, and we are in a weird position. We've sort of thrown out all these excuses or reasons why, they might not look as good as or as dominant as we've sort of come to expect from them. But we don't have our coach Emma Hayes. She's still coaching at Chelsea for the moment. The interim coach did a good job. We sort of have these players like the Alex Morgans, who just showed up at the absolute last minute due to an injury, and she played quite well in the tournament, especially considering she wasn't expecting to play. Then we got these kids, and they are literal kids coming through, like the Shaws and the Alberts and the Coffees, and I mean, who like just stepped right in, and they look like they're ready to go. So those were sort of my takeaways from the tournament. Anything else you guys want to add on that? Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm excited about some of these youngins they got coming through. And we don't even have some players out there like Katerina Macario. She's not there. She's, just coming off injury. She's, could be sort of one of the stars of this team in the very near future. So good things to look forward to. Men's national team, just a quick shout out stars of the weekend. Pulisic scored again. That's the good news. A sort of good news / bad news. He has really developed a knack for getting red cards on opponents. I think he's gotten 3 in the last, 3 opponents red carded in the last 2 games. And some of those fouls, especially the one this past weekend, they didn't look good. But he bounced back.
They're all just upping their shithousery for Copa America, which you need to bring in hot and heavy.
I like
and
it.
Serginho started it down in Trinidad and Tobago, and Pulisic's trying to up his shit. Weston and Tyler Adams obviously have no issue with it. So
never a problem for them. Fair point. We're trending in the right direction on that then. Also, Weston McKennie, 2 assists, one of which was absolutely beautiful. Dest, I believe, scored a goal on the weekend. And then there's one other guy that I'm going to wait for GOAWs to mention. Finally, though, Champions League. So we have the second half of the round of 16 second legs coming up right now. We got 4 games. We got Arsenal hosting Porto. They're down 1-0. That's on Tuesday. We got Barcelona hosting Napoli. That's even 1-1. Those are the 2 Tuesday games. Then on Wednesday, we got Dortmund and PSV. Dortmund hosting PSV. That's 1-1. And then Atletico Madrid hosting Inter. Atletico is down 0-1. That slate of games, by the way, however many weeks ago it was probably the most boring sort of 2 days of round of 16 games. Like when I talked about it last week or whenever, when I was saying that they screwed up getting rid of the road, away goals rule, it was specifically because of those 4 games. I was like watching these games like, oh my God, this is terrible. But those 4 games, we'll go to you, Tyler, first, since we know where Mitch's eyeballs are going to be for the week. Which of those 4 games, Arsenal, Porto, Barcelona, Napoli, Dortmund, PSV, and Atleti, Inter, which one of those sort of most interests you?
I think from like a sheer, like I'm always leaning towards Premier League. So Arsenal and Porto have my attention just because I would love to see Arsenal flame out of Champions League early. And then Dortmund PSV, if we could see some of our guys get to a quarterfinal or something like that, or get to a semi, I think that would be fucking awesome. And I think it's very, very doable.
Very doable. So, PSV is they're a good team this year. I'm actually going the other way on that Arsenal game. I really want them to stay in Champions League so they have a little bit more, more games on the schedule. They can't be resting people. I'm actually rooting for Arsenal to come through on that game. Mitch, what do you? Arsenal.
Your reverse psychology, like Mike, that's Mikey's thing. I don't think you can.
This is not reverse. I think
he's being. I know he's being earnest. Like that's. So we got the depth for it. I'm all set with that. Let's get 2 trophies in a year. Fuck it.
You have the depth for it. Don't make me laugh.
Timber's back. Tomiyasu's back. We're fine.
If I was a fan and resting my laurels on Tomiyasu, I would take a real.
No, I'm excited. Timber's back though. Timber's back and healthy. He was so exciting that those first like 3 games he played for us in preseason, and
I was gonna say, like, when's the last? Was that the last he played? Oh wow.
Yeah, preseason. So yeah, obviously I'm interested in this Arsenal Porto game. We were unlucky to come away with a result last game. I still think that we need to do away with the away goal thing. It's just stupid. It results in unspectacular aggregate scores like this: 1-1, 1-0, 1-1, 1-1. It's just
So you want to do away with doing away with the away goals rule?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Do away with the check. Yeah, reverse that.
Yeah.
I like us though. I like us at home. I like the form we're in. I like the confidence that some of our players are playing with. I like us in this. And then I also want to echo that PSV shout. They are flying right now. They are playing really, really, really well. And then I don't know. At Inter as well. I think Inter is going to advance from that tie. Um, I like the way they're playing. And then the last one is Barcelona and Napoli. I don't know. I'm been staying away from betting Barcelona all season because they've been really kind of hot and cold. I think Napoli could shock them though. I'd really like to see Napoli go through.
I like goals in both those games on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Arsenal
Yeah.
Porto and Barcelona Napoli. Well, speaking of which, let's go to stoppage time where we will start, of course, with Ivan Toney's best bets. Last week, the overtrain, we had a little bump in the road. Not going to lie, it was a tough start to the week. We lost all three of the first three. So we lost on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And when you only got five, that's a tough way to start out the week. Thankfully, bounced back on Saturday and Sunday with some very big, high-scoring games on Saturday and Sunday. So not a good week. Not one to write home about. We're not putting that one on the old refrigerator, but it will give me just a little bit extra motivation this week to bounce back hard. So I got some good ones. We're going to start out on Wednesday, where I'm going to take the only EPL game of the the midweek. Bournemouth is hosting Luton. Both those teams can score on each other. I have very strong faith that is over 2.5, maybe even over 3.5. On Thursday, we are going to go to Europa. Benfica is going to Rangers. In the first game they played last week, it was 2-2. It was very open. There were tons of chances. Both they could have been 4-4. So that game, just especially being at Rangers, I think Benfica is a little bit better team. I think that's got goals written all over it. Quickly though, on Thursday, there's times when you do the overs and like you made the right bet and you just lost it, and sometimes you made the wrong bet and you lost it. So I was absolutely right on Wednesday's bet of last week. Sporting Lisbon and Atalanta ended up 1-1. That game could have been 6-6. I was right bet on that one. I was dead wrong on Thursday when I had Ajax and Aston Villa, which was, I cannot believe that game, didn't have 4 or 5 goals in it. I was watching it. There were like 0 chances. Like I was the wrongest I've ever been on an over bet on that game. Back to the overtrain five-a-side. Friday, we're going Young Ajax versus Young PSV. Those teams score tons of goals. They get scored on plenty, and I assume that there must be kind of a little extra rivalry there between those two clubs. So I'm going Young Ajax and Young PSV. Saturday, we're going to Bundesliga, Hoffenheim and Stuttgart. Hoffenheim has been, both teams score and over betters. Wet dream lately, like that game. And then Sunday, we're actually going to stay in Germany, but go down to Bundesliga 2, where Hertha Berlin and Schalke play. And that's just a lock, absolute lock on Sunday. There we go. Wednesday through Sunday, 5-a-side overtrain. Let's go get rich. Mitch, you want to go first or second?
I'd love to. I'm not going nearly around the globe as you are. I'm sticking in England and Germany. All of these games are on Saturday. I like Brentford money line against Burnley. They're currently at plus 110, and I feel like that's going to drop at some point. Brentford at plus, anybody at plus money against Burnley feels easy, and they played us well this past weekend, so maybe that's biased. But I like Bayern Munich first half money line against Darmstadt. It's minus money, but it's kind of like a sweetener on this, that Bayern will come out and punch them in the mouth early, as we saw this past weekend, where they put up 7 goals. I want to say
7 or 8. 7 or 8. Yeah.
Oh, woof.
Yeah.
Bayern have this. Darmstadt are not good. And then I like Wolves in the FA Cup against Coventry City. I know I said earlier that you don't look at these games based on the position in their domestic tables, but Wolves are a better team than Coventry City. Coventry City has done well to make it this far, but Wolves are a Premier League team and a pretty good one at that. So I like Wolves.
And they're playing at home, and they don't necessarily have too much to play for. I know
they're not playing for top anything. And altogether, that's at about 420.
Okay, all right, I like it. Tyler, what do you got for the people?
It's nothing crazy. All right, there's only 2 legs to this parlay, but just stay on the train with me. Draw in the Inter Atletico game.
Interesting.
And a draw in the PSV and Dortmund game.
Wow.
You're a madness. I like the PSV Dortmund shot, actually. I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's not like, I'm not totally crazy.
No.
Also, I had somebody reach out to me. I forget, Adam Woodard, the golf reporter, who listens to see. He's a big Sam fan guy,
Huh.
and he was just talking about like, what is it with Liverpool fans and their absolute fucking hate for City, and I was just like, man, love and hate are close second cousins. Like, it's respect more than like it's riding that line between respect and love. Or that was what he said, and I was like, yeah, but since I'm a lunatic, like I have no issue saying that I'm gonna be on the wrong side of the fence, and I'll be firmly on the hate side. But anyway,
That's fair because listen, when we ask you about Everton, you just sort of usually brush it off like you just don't even give a shit. So the fact you do
that's because they
care,
blow. That's because they blow. That's not for any other like. They're
I
just,
know, I
they're
know,
just
but
they're none of my concern, Everton. Like, why would I waste my breath on them?
you could say that. You could say that about United too a lot of time. But
Yeah,
you're still
but
willing to talk to them.
I've been bashed by other Liverpool fans with how much, and I'm not saying by like Sam fan people, but like me treating United with like a level of respect that shouldn't be the case. Like
You
there
treat
needs
them too respectfully.
too respectfully, and like wanting them to be good again, like is being like an anti-Liverpudlian. Because
Uh-huh.
I've been quoted saying that a number of times on this pod. Like, I want United to be good again because it would just be more fun if we had another good team. But apparently I shouldn't be doing that. So I need to up my United hatred.
You've done well on that front, I would say. I think somebody, it was Sam Z on YouTube, left a message. God, Tyler is insufferable talking about Liverpool. Yeah. But that goes
What
for
have I
every team.
what have I
Everybody in
what have
their
I
team.
said what have I said today that's been unsufferable? I'm not wrong in the McAllister pen shout. Like, why
No,
have I
you
said
went over
today?
the top. You went over the top on Bruno. Like he
But
does look.
that's not talking about Liverpool. That's just talking about Bruno. Like, he's saying I'm insufferable as a Liverpool fan. People fucking hate us because they ain't us. Like, we are the most fun, most lovable, best coach, best fucking everything, best ground in the Premier League. Like, I just, fuck off.
Least insufferable fan base.
Yeah.
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 Least
So why
insufferable.
is he? But I needed to do that in order to defend myself. I didn't say anything about Liverpool today. Like, I didn't say we should have fucking won that game. Like, I said a draw was fair. I don't think I said anything that was out of line today.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I thought you went a little hard at Bruno and United. But listen, that's fair game, I would
And
say.
Ten Hag can come find me and defend him for, and I don't care.
Would you call him a lame duck or something like that? Which
I
that
think
was
that
fair. Probably fair.
exactly.
Okay, let's finish this up strong with everybody's favorite segment. GOAWs time. Oh boy. I got a few written down as I usually do, so I don't want to go first. I don't want to take your guys. Mitch, you look like you're ready to go.
Yeah, I have one. It's more of a story, and in the true form of Goa, it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. So everybody saw John Stones' goal on Sunday, where De Bruyne took the corner near post. It was a rocket. It was extremely well placed, and John Stones kind of came off a screen and tapped it in. Very obviously something they've worked on the training ground. But what some people may not know is that 2-ish weeks ago, Pep Guardiola was visited by Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of my beautiful best in the league Boston Celtics. They said they admired each other's performances. They admired how each one, coaches and conducts themselves in their respective sport. They exchanged ideas. They took some pictures together, some Celtics jerseys over at City and vice versa. And then sure enough, 2 weeks later, Pep's got a new pick and roll set piece play that he's pulled out in the biggest game of the season so far. So I don't want to say my Boston Celtics have such a global influence that we're deciding Premier League games, but I'm not going to not say that either. You know what I mean? So I think my go with this week is Joe Mazzulla, kind of being being the student and the teacher to Pep Guardiola.
Celtics don't have as much of an influence as Tottenham does on the title race, but
no, not nearly.
Okay, all right, that's a good one. Tyler, any comments on his, or just go your own way?
That was a lot. Especially as a Knicks fan who just watched them lose to a Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid-less 76ers.
Yeah, it was
scoring fucking 69 points last night.
Norm Powell had you guys.
Had us shake it in our boots. Put me out of my fucking misery. My Goa, I'm going to be honest. I think it's I was going to pick somebody from MLS. And I'm just going to be honest with you, I haven't really given it too much thought. Wataru Endo. I watched his full game highlights earlier today, and I thought he was fucking class. So he's my Goa.
Okay. All right. I will go. So I only have one honorable mention this week, and it's going to go to Roberto de Aversa, who is the manager, or at least was the manager of Lecce in Serie A. So he got fired today, and it might have been sort of precipitated by a fairly terrible run of form for Lecce. I think they have one win so far this calendar year, 2024. So that's not great. But last night, after Lecce's game against Hellas Verona, Diversa, the manager of Lecce, went up and headbutted the striker for Hellas Verona. Just headbutted him right there on the field for all the cameras to see. Just a wild move. So he got fired today. I'm pretty sure that the owner, was probably wanting to fire him anyway, and then they got this opportunity to basically not pay him severance, because obviously this definitely goes against whatever is in his contract for, behavior. So they basically took the opportunity, canned him right, immediately. So I guess maybe actually the Lecce owner is the go in this sense. That's just the honorable mention, though. My actual Goa, and this goes to, as Mitch said, kind of the essence of Goas. It's kind of, there's a good and a bad to it, yin and a yang. John Anthony Brooks, who scored a goal in the 6th minute for who he plays for Hoffenheim, I believe. So he scored in the 6th minute for Hoffenheim this weekend, and then 16 minutes later got a red card against Freiburg. So just a real high, real emotional roller coaster for John Anthony Brooks. And quick question for you guys. Do you know how old John Brooks is?
36.
31. He's only 31 years old. I didn't realize that. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. I would have said 35, 36 as well. So just another wrinkle in the weirdness that is not having him anywhere near the US.
That one game against Canada basically ruined his career in that World Cup qualifier.
Wow.
Ruined his international career, I should say.
I mean, there's got to be more to this story, and I'm still digging. I'm not getting anywhere, but I really want to know. Anyway, that's all we got this week. Tyler and Mitch, you guys are beautiful. Thank you for hopping on. Everybody who is listening, you're the best. I really do appreciate you and love you to the moon and back. And that's all we got. We'll be back next week. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. See you guys then.